We're now learning more about the levels of GenX in our water. During the forum WWAY hosted along with the Star News and WHQR last night, panelists say they were encouraged the levels have gone down, but the history of the testing shows the levels can be all over the place. WWAY's Kirsten Gutierrez has more on what they were and why that may be.
When it comes to the levels of GenX in the Cape Fear River,
the risk is decreasing, but we really need to see how the concentrations evolve with time.
But that has not always been the case.
When we think about risk, we really need to look at long-term exposure to the chemicals, so average concentrations are useful, but since the concentrations fluctuate so much, it's also very difficult to figure out what that average is.
Dr. Detlef-Knappe found GenX in our water through several raw water samples in 2013 and 2014. We now know the acceptable level is only 140 parts per trillion. The results from 2013 range from 55 parts per trillion to more than 4,500 in late September.
The Chemours company produced chemicals during certain time periods and not others, and they've stated they produce chemicals for 6 months of the year, at least the ones that are of concern to us. And the river flow during those periods where the concentrations were high was very low, and so there's less dilution of the wastewater as a result.
Wednesday night, CFPUA released data that showed after a downward trend of GenX samples recently, one test showed a higher level.
When that test was taken on July 10th, Chemours had either just stopped or about to stop discharging. So that was probably the last time we'll see, I would hope, a reading that high, if indeed they have stopped. They told us that once before.
As for the constant fluctuation in the water,
sampling isn't for a day. It's a one-time grab sample. It's a slug of water, and we test that. 10 minutes later, it could be different.
CFPUA Executive Director Jim Fleckner says the next move is for the state to step up.
The federal EPA, the state DEQ, and DHHS need to work together to make sure that our water source is as clean and as clear as it possibly can be.
In Wilmington, Kirsten Gutierrez, WWAY News.
WWAY reached out to Chemours asking several questions about the levels past and present. They responded with this statement: "We continue to work closely with local, state, and federal officials to determine the appropriate next steps."